Hey, how you going? You hang out and you're thinking how to join the hangout like I was, drop back in the Facebook thing. Right, let's see if this works. Hey guys, how you going? Like I just sent the link back on the Caribbean Developers group, the YouTube site. Oh look, somebody. Hey, Keshav. Look, somebody else. Natalie. Hey, Natalie.
You.
Um, well, I guess we should give it a few minutes because clearly my meeting is not just. I can confirm, Keshav, I don't hear you.
You can hear me
And I
now?
see this not. I
Hello?
can. Yes, I'm hearing you fine. Good.
Okay, cool.
Hey, hey, Natalie. Want to do the same thing? It's okay if you don't want to. You just want to chat. That's all right. The chat, Natalie. Got it. Hey, Roger, how you going?
Hey guys, hey Erwin.
Feels like I know everyone in the chat, and that's not fair to people who are watching and thinking this man know everybody. I do know Roger. I do know Keisha. Nat, it's good to meet you. I see Derek just joined. So, as I said, we'll wait a few more minutes because I see on Facebook 12 people said they're going, three maybes, which is pretty groovy for a very random chat that started because of um, Shannon Clark sort of saying, hey, do this chat now, boy. If you hear laughter, it's because there are a bunch of developers. It's a Shannon Clark sort of after, hey, do this chat now, boy. Okay, tell developers the way. If you hear laughter, it's because there are a bunch of developers. It's a Shannon Clark sort of after, hey, do this chat now, boy. Okay, tell developers the way. If you hear laughter, it's because there are a bunch. Shannon, I just muted you because I think your audio is coming back into the log. Um, all right, we're looking okay. I'm going to particular thing. Message. It's doing that, so it doesn't have this all this dead space. I should plug into my until
Um, Hey, can everyone hear me? Because we could always just use a
no,
pair.
not you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Shannon, but it's a bit choppy for me. So I don't know if we could do the video.
I was saying that maybe we could try a pair.in. That works pretty well.
Sorry.
Only thing is that we won't be able to record it.
Roger, is this still choppy?
It's a bit better. Just one and two time it's chopping, so I missed something that you say.
Okay, got it.
It
Well,
seems good now though.
all right. Well, hopefully we figure it out. And it may just be that our Telus connection here is not the best. I'm here at Telus, and maybe for those of us on the call, we could just introduce ourselves. I'm once more Erwin Williams. I am driver of engineering excellence at Telus Systems. Title some other time.
Hi.
And yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Natalie.
Who want to go next?
Okay. Hi, I'm Natalie. Hello?
Yeah, Natalie, where are you?
Right. I am Natalie. I'm a web developer from San Fernando. I run my own business, and I was introduced by Indie Caribbean Developers. I was sent the link for today, so I'm here to listen.
Hi guys,
Got it. Keshav, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm Keshav. I'm a software engineer at Medellin. Hello.
Hey, Keshav.
Yeah, man, hearing you.
How you doing?
Hey guys, can you hear me? I'm Roger.
Yes.
I'm Roger Gadraj. I'm a web developer. I've been involved in development for as long as I could remember. So for over 10 years. Yeah. Who's next?
Okay, I guess that's me. Hi, my name is Shannon. I'm a janitor.
Hey guys, I'm Derek. I'm an educator and a student, I guess.
Great. And we just had Nicholas join. Nicholas, just say who you are and we'll move on.
Hi, everybody. My name is, does everybody hear me? Hello?
Yeah, hearing fine.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Mendez. I would say I'm a web developer, but it kind of implied I'm being paid for my web work, but most of it is just for fun right now. But I do a lot of web stuff. Currently doing my master's at UWI in computer science. Yeah.
This is really Shannon's meeting. And I'll tell you why. When I saw this, I just commented saying, let's have a call. And Shannon was like, okay, go organize it. But really, he caused it. Having said that, though, for those of us who weren't at the start of the thread and probably all the comments, because there are quite a few sub-comments in between, Adrian, who I actually met once before, I think he won a small hackathon that was related to pan hacking and that kind of stuff a couple of years ago. He said, wait these days who can't code to save their lives. I was on a hunt to get a web developer to assist in a project, and it was difficult to find. And myself to the limits of a framework up, useless.
It's chopping a lot.
Getting started with your web development career. Please do your craft. So I guess seeing this, there were a lot of comments, and when I first saw it, I thought, I mean, it's cool to get Adrian's rant, really, or mini rant about what's going on. But I really liked Tana asked what, and then what Ariel dropped in saying, well, I agree fully. Super important on the question, and maybe on the comment around the room. I said I dive into somewhere else one time, but anyway, let's get thoughts around the call on both Adrian's comments, and I really want to focus on Lasana's question here. What are we doing to change this trend? Maybe we could start with Derek. I'm just looking at the speaker order on my screen, so it could be wrong. But could start with Derek and move on along the line. Yeah.
Yeah, you hearing me okay? Owen, you all hearing me okay?
Yep.
Hearing
Okay.
fine.
Yeah,
Right.
coming through.
So, I mean, it's definitely an issue. Finding developers is one thing. Finding developers who know their craft and are well prepared for their role has to be an extreme challenge right now. And I think one of the things that would be important is exactly this kind of forum, this kind of discussion among the stakeholders, especially among the professional persons, the persons with the experience. And I think in line with the direction we need to go is to find a way to bridge the gap between the education of the individuals and the actual professionals who are on the ground and know what exactly are the good practices and the best practices.
Got it. I see you cut out a little bit there, but what I heard from you, Derek, was professional for everyday Adrian and everyone else on this call, and we need to take in front around telling those people coming up maybe things we assume they're hearing somewhere else, where that somewhere else is. It could be school, it could be us, and we need to present our voices. If I heard you correctly, Derek, or if I could kind of pull out of what you're saying, we need to present a professional voice to people who are learning so that we aren't surprised with what they have to say to us in echo.
Well, yes, that, and we need to have a consistent voice. So what the educators
Keshav, you
say.
want to continue?
Oh yeah, sure. I guess my point would be that as with not just software developers, but with any field, I think it's more to do with you know, there's this thing where you need experience to get a job, and then a lot of people don't have that experience coming straight out of UE. So I think it would be good for people to like contribute to open source software, learn to use Git, and do things to get experience. So it looks better on a resume when you have that experience. Because a lot of what you find happening is a lot of people like even when I graduated, a lot of people graduated and you're not really seeing them in field, so you kind of wonder like where these people are. So well that's my contribution. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a really big question, Keshav. That question on well, people graduate and where do they go?
Yeah, because it is an interesting question.
Hello?
You.
Yeah, Keshav is silent on my end.
Someone's talking. Can anyone hear me? I can hear a few people.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if somebody else is talking. I'm not hearing anything right now.
Well, I completed my part there, so I don't know if we want to move on.
Yeah, bad on my side. It probably is. Or if the connection is bad on everyone's side, which probably it isn't. Well, just before we go on, I kind of want to, but let me find out. I'm not tied to Hangouts at all. Is there some other way we could do this?
Zoom is a good option. It will work for about 40 minutes.
Zoom is awful. You have to install stuff, don't you?
You could just
Yeah.
click on a link.
Yeah. Well,
There's a download but no install. Just download a launcher.
I think what needs to happen is when you're handing it over to somebody, just say the person name so that person will talk, because I realize everybody is on mute. So somebody's waiting for somebody to speak. So when you finish, you just say next person or something, because everybody's on mute, so nobody's speaking at the moment.
Yeah, I hear everybody fine.
Yeah, I'm hearing everybody fine, but it's on mute. It's only when it's time to talk you could unmute it. So
yeah.
Okay, so let's just continue then. I think I remember I've had this conversation with a few people before, such people in agencies looking for candidates or new employees. And often the concern is that the person can't create new functionality within a reasonable amount of time. Like you would ask them to do something simple and it seems like they're totally lost on maybe even just reading through just manuals or understanding basic concepts, like understanding core JavaScript, for instance, when you want a website done up, for instance, that they need a lot of hand holding. But I think that good developer goes beyond that. I think what you're really going to be looking for is somebody who can not only maintain like coding standards, like what we have now. So for instance, we have a lot of ES6 standards now. We have style guides, for instance, with the Airbnb ESLint standards we have, and then also performance standards that you're going to want for your websites, for instance, our web applications. So I'm kind of curious where we're looking at in terms of what level of developer, and maybe that would then guide us in terms of thinking, okay, well, hey, maybe we could actually come up with a document, maybe in the future, to say, hey, this is what we're looking for. Definitely, I think Lasana already mentioned already, if a person is already involved in open source, you could take a look at their projects. But really, what I think is most important is the person's level of productivity.
Just giving that awkward pause before I jump in. Two things you said there that stood out to me. One is I focus more on the one that we're talking about here a lot as well, which is developer levels. I've found we were asked here what determines levels, and it really comes down to we don't. Let me say, we do care you went to school, what you did at school, and that kind of stuff. But it seems as if that only assess developed. That whole notion of you can be a developer for 4 years, but each year did the same kind of work, and the same kind of work that's fairly basic and repeatable, and that doesn't produce someone who's willing to abandon frameworks to explore unbeaten pathways. So I think I really agree with that perspective, Shannon, on what value you've clearly added to projects, either open source or otherwise. I like the idea of open source simply because, well, one, we need to be clear to our students, whoever they may be, and people who are new to the field, that simply having a project in GitHub does not an open source developer make. Or put differently, it wouldn't be a valid statement of your level of work if all you have are very basic of very new projects and which you liked and never went back to them to actually contribute and make meaningful contribution to them. Anybody else want to jump in?
So yeah, I mean, so just to follow up on that point, yes, definitely multiple projects and even multiple commits look good, but I think it's really comes down to, okay, exactly what did you build? How useful is it in terms of performance and also in terms of achieving the objectives? And I think then, unless others have other perspectives, I mean, we could compare or gauge a person's productivity based on, okay, are they actually following coding guidelines, or is it just that, okay, it works, you know, it's glitchy as hell, and if it's glitchy as hell, that's cool, but are they able to fix it in a way that then other developers can come behind them and work, you know? being a sole developer, working on your own, is totally different from working with others. So for instance, I work with Polymath, and I'm working on the front end, connecting with the blockchain smart contracts. And it's really important, especially since all the code is going to be open source, that is following coding standards, and that is actually, you know, it's following performance. What would I say? Okay, so there's Chrome Lighthouse, you know, and I have to get a good performance score on the code. Otherwise, then it's not actually done. You know, yeah, it works, but is the code actually done? And definitely, maybe you don't have to finish it all within, I guess, less than whatever time or whatnot, but there must be some sort of process that you're applying that others can also follow behind.
Great point, Shannon. Who wants to jump in there? Keisha, what are your thoughts on that? Or Natalie, I saw you unmuted.
Okay. I agree with him. The documentation of when developers develop their application, sometimes you don't have documentations to follow. So let's say you come on board to help somebody in regards to accessing the codes and stuff. You wouldn't, if they don't have proper documentation, it's basically you have to learn you have to start thinking like the other person. So I would agree with having some sort of standards. You all mentioned earlier developers working for companies. When they work for companies, sometimes you get a job and you would be stick with doing the same thing, as you say, over and over. And some people get comfortable where they don't try to, as technology grows, every day is something new. As a developer, I feel you should always be, if you're not going to learn, just at least know what's going on and keep up to date. Some developers just stick in one spot and they're comfortable there. So, and I've worked in corporate and by myself, so I've seen it from both sides. And with me, I have to now start thinking from a business perspective, think ahead of them before, because some people just think the here and now, they want it done as soon as possible and they don't really care. But as a developer, you would need to know you'll want to be able to grow and expand later on and not just stay one spot.
Real talk. Anybody here enjoy writing documentation?
No, I hate writing documentation. I would admit I don't like it, but when I'm working with a team, we have somebody who would do the documentation, which is very helpful. Once I can get documentation, I am a happy camper.
One of the things that I've personally been realizing over the last few years relates to the difference between the software development process you're engaged in and the process of becoming a better software developer. Anybody else has kind of realized that? In other words, you can have a process, let's say Scrum or XP or whatever else people use, Agile and whatever else they use. And that is around the realm of delivering the software. So it might have things like documenting the work with PBIs or use cases and that kind of thing. But what actual steps do we take to become better as developers?
Well, for me, I'm actually learning not as soon as new things come out, but I tend to just do like a basic, something new come out in the area. I will just learn the basics to get an understanding to know where it would be best suited. So I am actually learning every day. So I'm still in school. It's a never ending for me.
I think
anybody else?
To taking a look at what a lot of developer teams at larger companies are doing and how you can apply some of their thinking and their standards to your own practices. Basically, improving your workflow, I think, is a really important thing. So, for instance, working on my own projects, working on my own startups and whatnot, it was just all about, okay, did the code work? You know, and like, would the customer not notice that there's a bug? Pretty much, right? They never actually had to take a look at the code, so it totally didn't really matter if I had like all sorts of crap inside there or comments and whatnot. However, especially when you're working with other developers, when you're using your build tools, then you have to have your config files actually done properly. And I think that when you actually have your code done, especially nowadays, in a way that you have it set up with your config files and maybe a good commenting. You don't really need to write a lot of documentation. Maybe just walk the person through the code just like probably an hour at most. And if the person is familiar with those kinds of workflows, then they should be good. What I think becomes a problem is when people just focus on, okay, I just want to get the functionality done, and they're stuck with workflows from the 90s. And so pretty much they're not using any linting. They're not using any continuous integration. They're not writing any tests. They're not doing any of that. Then that really and truly does require extensive documentation. And I don't think then you're a good developer. Maybe you can make stuff work, but I don't think you're a good developer. And the more that you can do stuff so that people can actually look at your code and they can get an idea of what you were thinking or how you went about it before even having to talk to you, I think then you're becoming a better developer.
Great. One of the things that stands out to me there is this idea of working with other developers. Everyone on the call, how is that? Nicholas, do you get a chance to work with somebody? How many do you often get to work with other developers? What's the experience with that? And when we say other developers here, I think there's a bit of a trap there, Shannon, but we'll come back to it. Nicholas?
Working with other developers outside of school, I have made a number of projects, and a lot of people will be like, hey, that's kind of cool. Can I help out? So sure, it's a public repo. You can make push requests. But up to this day, I haven't really seen anybody really contribute to my projects, but maybe isn't good enough for anything. I haven't had much open source collaboration. Like sure, I'll have like hackathons and sprints, and that's where most of my collaboration with other developers go. But in terms of like open source projects that I make personally, yeah, it's a little different.
I really do dig Derek's point. Thanks, Nicholas. I understand that you're still, as you said, you're still in school. I do dig Derek's point here about reading the classics. There are a number of considerations and perspectives that really do help underpin the ways we think about software development. And so these days, in the age of coding camps and 6 months to be a developer and very, very short courses, people may be tricked into thinking, well, I can write a thing in Angular. I know Angular 4, or I know React Native. Therefore, because I built this program, I'm now a developer. That probably is tripping some people up because they're thinking, well, I made an application, but one application is not sufficient. That idea of discovering the history and being deliberate about finding out what was said in our field before and how the field has grown up, maybe a bit challenging. I wonder about that. I wonder, we share a lot of links, but I don't really hear a lot about, I actually don't hear a lot of people sharing full books that they've read and how the books impacted them. You guys have any cool books you read recently? Derek, what are you studying? And you may have said it before we start.
I'm doing my PhD in computer science.
With what area are you focusing on?
Wearable computing and HCI, for now at least. That's the focus.
Got it. So I guess a PhD means read and write through.
No, a PhD means reading a lot, but also doing individual and independent research and then publishing your findings on a given thing. Some of it is software based, some of it could be HCI design stuff. It could be how the technology has impacted upon user decisions, all different kinds of research.
Got it. I just want to come back to, well, I noticed this.
You really got muted.
Hello?
Sorry, I did get muted, sorry. I noticed this stream kind of set along, that's pretty cool. Maybe we could do, I'm willing to try Zoom next time. A little more lead time because, as I said, Shannon suggested it, and I was like, yeah, for sure. So, and I did say half an hour in the meeting invite. I want to keep to that. And so I do like what Adrian did in terms of reaching out to the Caribbean developers group and saying, hey, here's my concern. What are our next steps? What are some things? Let's assume we're going to do this again next week or sometime soon. What kind of homework should we give ourselves? One bit of homework is already there, which is Shannon suggested on the thread, and he said it again here, which is with some kind of a document that represents what we expect of a developer. But apart from that, any bits of homework we should take away to kind of explore and come back with?
Well, I think the conversation was now getting started, man. Like, I mean, okay, so it's really cool that we're only starting to touch base with it. So, for instance, there's Nicholas there. Nicholas is doing his studies in computer science, PhD, I think you said. Okay, so what are your open source projects? You know, like you are now getting started. What is it that you need to learn? Where do you see yourself having gaps in your knowledge? And then on the other hand, then, so at Telios, what is it that you guys look for? You know, so Erwin, I'm going to put you on the spot. You know, like when you see a developer come in, let's say that they've passed through the entire interview process and maybe even pass probation, you know, and now they come before you. What is it you're looking for?
So I can answer that now and then treat it like homework as well, right? For the no answer, it's pretty depending on most people we're hiring, they're coming in as the software developers. And when I say most, I mean in terms of coming into engineering department. And we look for evidence of passion, evidence of pursuit, and of course professionalism. I didn't mean to have alliteration, but I saw it and I took it. Passion, pursuit, professionalism, and in that order. That is, we really do care that you are working on many projects. If you have 10 side projects that you did while you were studying, we'd love to hear it. We know if you're working somewhere else and you come to an interview for us, we don't necessarily expect that you have a whole additional life going on outside of your job, but some evidence that shows you are a developer, you're interested in seeing things being created. Tied to that though is there is some demonstration of depth that perhaps comes from how much time you spent in one or a few projects, the range of activity inside of one given project. Maybe there's a new technology you've decided to spend a lot of time with, and you could produce artifacts that demonstrate it, which is why. So we don't necessarily say if you're applying to Telios, you must have a GitHub repo or you must have a website with 1,000 projects on it. But sometimes if you come to an interview at Telios, and we know you're coming and where you're coming from, you might say, walk with your laptop to show us what you've built, especially in the context of coming as a software developer. Our team, as it continues to grow, we have particular cultural approaches here. You wouldn't necessarily hear us say, come, you're going to start in the deep end. We more prefer that you come and you kind of see what we've built and the process and say we're willing to learn. And that's perhaps for us being a professional developer means you're very willing to share, and you understand the importance, Shannon, as you said, of team. We really emphasize teams here at Telios. So for this call, and I do want to do a bit of homework and come back with better answers in subsequent calls or other places in Caribbean developers. Keshav, I think I jumped in front of you.
I was just going to talk about the documentation stuff, but I guess we could leave that for another time.
No, dude, go for it.
Okay. Basically, I guess it's a little bit more complicated than just having good documentation or bad documentation, because there's different layers of documentation. It really depends on your project per se. For example, you could probably have like a lot of JS docs documentation. You probably would need that physical write-up because the JS docs are sufficient. you probably have like a design doc that is attached to that user story. So that in itself would be sufficient instead of having like a manual per se. So it really depends, I think, on the project, as well as how we do it at work. There's a lot of internal Git repos, so the documentation on the repo itself should be sufficient enough if another developer needs to pull it down and use it. So I think documentation, it should be sufficient, but it may not necessarily need to be overly comprehensive.
Hi, if I could just add to that what Keisha have contributed to. I think I didn't introduce myself before. I'm Kevin. I'm more on the product management side of things. So I liaise more with end users and managers in software-related products. So I think that in terms of documentation, because not only developers have to interact with software, you have end users, you have managers, you have different stakeholders. Sometimes what Keisha mentioned, the end user stories and stuff, they could be a good way for those who have to manage these software products to kind of get their heads around what's the logic behind these systems that we build. So yes, doing documentation is a pain. I agree with that wholeheartedly, but sometimes just a simple diagram could go a long way in helping a business owner or an end user understand what was he thinking behind how this software was developed. And so they will be better able to know how best to get value for their money or value from the product that was built, whether it's a website, a web app, or a native app. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. I'm looking at Derek's point here, and I know this is weird and a bit unnatural, but I want us to pause and I want us to come back again, either on Caribbean Developers on the Facebook page, or we could determine another time to have a meeting like this. Derek's point was maybe consider what each of us did to develop our own skills, what worked and what didn't. I think that's a nice deep question, a deep place to return, because I think it will, once we do this, we probably have to find a place to share it, because even Caribbean Developers is a closed group, and maybe many of the people who we want to talk to aren't on Caribbean Developers. They may be on Facebook or Snap or wherever young developers go these days. So we have to find a way to, well, we don't have to, but it'd be good if we could get a way to externalize what our processes were. So maybe people could learn from it and understand more that deep beyond the rant from Adrian. And I hope he doesn't mind I'm calling it a rant. Beyond that post, people can really get what it means to be on a pathway. And maybe we'll work with them soon. And because they saw the things we shared, and so they can add value more quickly to the projects we're working on. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well.
I also think that Telios does a really good job already of sharing some things like that. And I think that, I know that, at least for myself, it's definitely helped to share more of things, even as I'm learning, you know. So yeah, I would definitely agree. So I have one little rule: never end a meeting before schedule another meeting. So when's the next one? Either we do it next week at the same time or next 2 weeks. 2 weeks kind of long. I'll feel lonely.
Erwin, why did you pick 5 to 5:30? Just curious.
Well, it was pretty impromptu, and so like I know my wife and my family are gonna come knocking on the door just now saying, "Come and let us leave." So I knew it was a time I might be able to work with myself. Okay. So it doesn't have to be 5 to 5:30. It could be later at night. It could be lunchtime. It really is up to this. This is, if you call this the beginning of something, the beginning is not shaped by the schedule. It's more, I think, our desire to have chats like this. I didn't even know until I saw Lizana's profile They were doing this before. There was Caribbean-wide chats happening, and I really would like to see that start back around
Yeah, I
a bunch of
think,
different topics.
I think the group does meetups and stuff. I never went to any, but
Yes, you all need to come to the meetups. I'm a moderator and I hosted the one in San Fernando last week and it was good. I have some pictures to share and I'm supposed to you set a next one for me. But it will be in Port of Spain. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. But in regards to this meetup, you guys just tell me what day and time and I would most likely be available. I don't have any preference.
So next week, same time?
I'm going to be selfish. I'm traveling next week from 16th. So if we're doing it again in a week, I'd love to do it on the 15th next week. What do you guys feel about 5 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. If we could get Adrian to come in as well, that'd be awesome. Yeah, his side.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
And then, as Derek said, if we could also consider that to be our homework in terms of what helped us to level up.
Great. And of course, we could add advertisements and stuff and invite all people from all over the world to come and hear these stories. It'll be amazing. 10 developers, 10 different pathways. What are they now?
So there are actually some people who are looking at the YouTube link, but they haven't joined into Hangout.
Should probably make a podcast.
But I did share it there. So probably next time if we can have like in the YouTube or the description, put a link in the description or something. I don't know. But
yeah. I'm sorry guys. This was a horrible organization. But we'll get better. We'll get better.
My props for even getting it done.
Yeah, good job.
All right, cool. So we have homework. We have a next meeting date tentatively next week, Tuesday. Let's say 5 o'clock. Let's see what good things happen.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
All right, later, guys.
Bye.
Next time.